Benjamin Akakbo, it's a wet Wednesday morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, the Wednesday is pretty wet, and the weather is nippy, and we just thank God for life, for being able to be here. But let's bring into the conversation quickly Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He is head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. He's a political scientist as well. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Ben, and good morning to Sweetie, and then our viewers and listeners as well.
And we know you are doing your best to interact with us this morning. We don't take it for granted. We are grateful for your time. We'll let you zoom straight into what your thoughts are for us this morning, right after which Sweetie Abochi will come through with the paper she has. So over to you, Doc.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. I think this morning I want to look at the NDC Youth Manifesto and matters arising. Particularly, I want to look at the promise that stems from John Mahama to the effect that you want to pay free, first year university academic user facility, that type of.
So they've clarified, just before you go on, so we don't go on a wild goose chase. In any case, they've clarified yesterday when I had Dr. Clement Apag, the deputy ranking member on the Education Committee. I put that question to him. What is it? Which one is it? And he said it was for tuition. So just
for tuition.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
That's fine. That's fine. Yes. For me, every policy which is public in nature is important. And for every well-meaning Ghanaian, we are looking forward to policies that will make life better for our people. So, in the policy that is coming from a political party, particularly when you are talking about dominant political parties, and any other party as well, is welcome. But what we want to hear and know is that we want to see or hear about the mathematics of it.
Okay.
How much is going to be, put into that exercise? We need it for a better understanding of the policy and also appreciate the situation and be able to follow the conversation through. So we want, going forward, we want political parties who make promises of that nature to be able to come clean on how, first, we are going to raise money, two, where the money is going to come from, three, and how is the implementation going to be done? How is it going to be done? It's critical because our ability to do this will give people the opportunity to be able to interrogate the issue more properly and be able to understand. And then based on that, we make an informed decision as to which direction to go in terms of voting. So yes, it's a policy welcome, but there's more to it, more in the sense that we want to know all the things that I've said. How are they going to navigate their way through this type of tricky water and be able to give us something that will appeal to our people?
All right. And just to add on, and this is all information I got yesterday, so I'm just adding it on for you on the funding because I also posed that question. Apparently, by uncapping the GET fund, they are hoping to glean about 250 million Ghana cedis, which is what they're going to pump into this, looking at the hundreds of thousands, over 100,000 students that go into these public tertiary institutions. They also talk about stemming the tide of corruption. And there's another point that I may be missing. But if you look at the expenses on free SHS, and they make their own calculations, looking at the numbers that will roll over into the tertiary level, that is the estimate. I am not in any way trying to justify what they are saying because I have my own deep-seated concerns about how they will roll it out, especially on the back of the example of free SHS. But this is what they have said, and you asked for how they were funding it, so I had to bring that up as well. That is what they have said.
Right.
I think it's a good information, but we need more
Right.
as to how much exactly that we are going to spend. We don't want to have the experience of free senior high school program. Beautiful program, but from the word go, you realize that they were struggling to give us figures that we can put our fingers on to be able to make sense of that. We don't want to, get into that problem again. So we want them to specific that these are the number of people we are targeting. This is how much it's going to cost, plus and minuses, and then they tell us as to how we are going to fund that and implement that to its logical conclusion. Yes.
Thank you,
Well
Doc.
said, Doc. Let's get into the papers. I'll start with the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page, NDC seats and a siege according to Napo. Credit scoring system is coming. That is the Vice President and flag bearer of the NPP. Confusion rocks MPs over Supreme Court nominees. Yesterday, that story made airwaves. Nooks questions Mahama's free level 100 policy, and one dead in Forestry Commission, timber workers clash. Let's start with a story from Parliament, the confusion that rocked MPs over the Supreme Court nominees, and it's on page 3 of the Daily Guide newspaper. Chaos erupted at the Appointments Committee of Parliament yesterday as minority members attempted to halt the vetting process of 2 Supreme Court nominees, Justice Sophia Rosetta Idiokua and Professor Richard Frimpong Opong. The nominees appointed by the President to fill anticipated vacancies on the Apex Court were scheduled to face the committee yesterday. And the minority's argument was that the appointment was unconstitutional. The majority is saying that, led by the Deputy Majority Leader, Patricia PAG, and she says that the interpretation of the Constitution is the mandate of the judiciary. And so the minority, referring to Mr. Ayariga, had no right to be interpreting that. We should leave that to the judiciary. But after hours of delay, they finally arrived at a decision and the vetting proceeded. Credit scoring system coming, according to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has announced that the government is set to roll out the individualized credit scoring system for all citizens by the end of this year, 2024. And this transformative initiative is set to reshape Ghana's financial landscape, ensuring that credit becomes more accessible and affordable for both individuals and businesses nationwide. And quote, he says, this system will open up new opportunities for individuals and small businesses to access credit, which in return will drive economic growth and job creation. That is according to the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We wait and see how this is implemented and if it actually meets us at the points of our needs, where we are right now. On the international front, Iran rejects Western calls to refrain from attack on Israel. Tanzania opposition leader released after mass arrest. In Gaza, 4-day-old twins killed in airstrike. Really sad thing going on over there. And Napo is saying NDC seats are under siege. The ruling New Patriotic Party has planned to snatch some key parliamentary seats from the opposition National Democratic Congress on December 7th. According to the party, the targeted seats included the famous Asawase constituency in the Ashanti region, which has never been won by the NPP before. And this was disclosed by Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. Let me do some sports stories away from the politics. Raise the flag of Ghana high. The Minister for Youth and Sports, Mustafa Yusuf, paid a visit to the Black Princesses team ahead of their departure to Colombia for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. And I think this is the 7th consecutive appearance we are making on that global stage. Congratulations, and I hope they make us proud. Doc, these few stories for your quick reflections coming from the Daily Guide newspaper.
I want to reflect on the appointment that initially the minority raised concern about, and later they moved into undertaking the vetting.
Yes.
I want to understand what really informed the change of their mind relative to the issue. Because the issue that they raised is legitimate. So one would have thought that they would carry their threat through. So I don't really get what really caused the change in decision and all that. But let's come to the issue. The woman who said that issue of interpretation must be given to the Supreme Court because that is truly in the responsibility of the Supreme Court. We agree. But Parliament also has an oversight responsibility that they exercise. It is when this thing is in contention and then you want to go to the Supreme Court for interpretation. So I don't see anything wrong when Parliament decides, that is minority, decide to question what is really at stake. You know, I am a bit surprised about that, because strictly speaking, that is the role of what? Parliament in exercising oversight responsibility over executive appointments and all that. But the issue, if it is true that the candidate or the nominee has a dual citizenship and he needs to renounce that, then I think it is interesting to visit that conversation at another time, that we really want to understand if the laws of this country allow that. If it doesn't, then Parliament must come and then inform us properly about the change in decision.
Right.
Two, the issue I want to look at is the MPP, their efforts to get some of the seats that we know are, comfortable seats for the NDC, particularly as Awase and all that. It is good to target things of that nature, but it is also critical that they walk the talk. It's not easy that you want to get some seats which are so far have been the natural seats or the strongholds of a certain political party. You need to do a lot of work. At Awase, if you look at the chemistry of the place, you look at the voting patterns, and you look at things that inform voter choices, then they need to go a long way and then work out. But we wish them well. For us as political watchers, we always believe that the ground is equal for every party to compete. So if there is a seat you want to annex, so be it, but you need to work and work hard. Because some of those places, I call them the enclaves within strongholds, are enclaves because they are very, very strong. So it is not just mere talk. You need to walk the talk.
Right. Well said, Doc. Benjamin, let's do your paper next.
Well, let's get into the Daily Graphic newspaper. Stock exchange to support a graphic listing. That's according to Abena Amwa. There's also accountability and education sector vital. Some experts say so. Stop attacks on court, Supreme Court nominee, and ATU CEO's lecture series. Let's teach students technical skills and home sense. That's according to Dr. Ejenim. On the back page, the World Fruit Program launches post-harvest mechanization training program, and potholes overgrown medians engulf roads despite road repair app. I guess everything is being resolved by apps nowadays, but technology is not technologying in every sense of the word. Let me start from there. The newly introduced road repair app faces a stern test as some roads in Accra remain dotted with potholes. The problem has exacerbated traffic issues in the city and compounded traveling time over short distances. This came to light when the Daily Graphic toured some areas in Accra over the last few weeks. At the Accra road bypass on the STC stretch, so I think it's saying pools of potholes were seen littered in the area when the Daily Graphic team got there. It was noticed that drivers had to either slow down to go through the potholes or meander their way around them to continue their journey. Also on the roundabout at the South Industrial area near the Fun Milk plants, the potholes were yet to be fixed, causing traffic on that route, which is a major road that leads out of the enclave to the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. And there are many more that are cited here. So, road repair app, is it up and working? That's the question. The World Food Program has launched a $100,000 post-harvest agricultural mechanization training program for the youth of Ohau in the Ketu North municipality of the Volta region and Wenchi in the Bono region. That actually happens to be where my friend Ben Dochimalo is from. So it's interesting to hear. The two events are to benefit 1,750 agricultural engineering graduates, diploma holders, as well as national service persons in the next 2.5 years. But then let's do two other stories, and I'll come to you, Doc. Stock exchange to support graphic listing. That's according to Abna Amwa, who is managing director of the GSE. Now, the Ghana Stock Exchange has assured the management of the Graphic Communications Group Limited of its commitment towards helping the company complete its process of listing on the local bourse. Now, the managing director of the GSE, Abna Amwa, during a courtesy call on the MD of GCGL in Accra yesterday, said, quote, "We want to see this national heritage brand continue to excel." She said the GSE was excited when it came to its notice that Graphic was planning to list on the market and has since been following up on the process. We salute the Daily Graphic and, of course, the Graphic Group for this endeavor. God knows that in these times, while it has not happened the way some people felt, that newspapers would be wiped out on the back of, online portals and all of that, it's a tough business staying on. And if you look at the history of the Daily Graphic, they have come far. What sometimes becomes problematic is leadership, which sometimes the politicians will want to play with, and positioning, which sometimes creates some worries. I'll wrap with this story on page 13, Doc. That'll be my final story for you, at least for now. Stop attacks on courts, Supreme Court nominee. Now, a justice of the Court of Appeal, Sophia Rosetta Benasco Essa, has urged the public to desist from crossing the boundary through scurrilous attacks on the courts or making prejudicial statements on pending matters, saying such tendencies impaired public confidence in the judiciary. After a prolonged controversy over the manner of the appointment process and other connecting legalities, Justice Benasco Essa took her seat for the vetting that lasted about 2 hours. She said once judgment had been delivered, people were at liberty to attack it all the way to whichever level they wished and could have it determined on appeal. However, such commentary should be informed discussions instead of inciting the public against the person of a judge or of the entire judicial system. And I'll just add, I'm sure you've heard of that other judge that the minority is resisting the approval of, or at least was resisting the approval of, because he is Canadian Ghanaian. And they are saying, fair is fair. If you applied it to James Jachikwason, then we can't pick and choose right now. Your quick reflections on these stories, Doc.
Yes, I will start with the statement by the nominee to the Supreme Court about attacks on the court anytime judgment is delivered. Yes, it is something that is gradually gaining currency in this country, which is very unfortunate. Yes, there is nothing wrong criticizing the Supreme Court, but when it becomes an attack of their persons and the work, picking certain, issues which are not tangential to the facts on the ground, then it becomes unfortunate. But we also want to put a record that the Supreme Court is a public court, and that also when their work is also, we are armed with the power as a society to also scrutinize the work of the Supreme Court, provided we do it with decorum, provided that we are mindful that we are working within the framework of the law. So the two things are, criticisms are very important because they grease the wheel of the work of what? The Supreme Court. But criticisms that, impugn the integrity of the court, we disagree and then we condemn that. So the public should be able to have a fine balance in dealing with these issues so that we can get the courts going at all times. The second issue is the issue of the Well Food Program and the work they are doing to support food security in the country and all there is to it. Great work, I commend that. But this country must take agriculture seriously if we really want to do away with all manner of problems that confront us relative to what food production and agriculture in general. I have observed, I'm not a great scholar, but I have observed from my little corner some of the things that we fail to do as a society. Look at agriculture, which has been the backbone of this country, the mainstay of this country. But it appears to me that we are not investing so much in there. and then we are letting go some of the strength that we used to have in that area that put us on a certain pedestal. Today, all these things are going away. So I am hopeful that government will take a cue from what World Food Program is doing and also support the effort of farmers and everybody who is interested in agriculture, and even encourage people to go in. That's where we have our strength.
Right.
We need to be able to strengthen there and then make the place work so that it can create jobs, it can improve the economy.
Right. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on these matters.
Because Doc landed on farming, I want to read this story about food. And I have the, beg your pardon, I have the Ghanaian Times newspaper. And food shortage looms as lack of rains affects crop production, leaves farmers distraught. The story is on page 12, and I want to read a bit of that. So the lack of rainfall in parts of the country for several weeks is affecting farming and raising concerns about potential food scarcity and price hikes in agricultural produce. And although it is a farming season, the northern parts of the country, as well as the middle belt, have seen little to no rain for the past 2 months, devastating crops and leaving farmers distraught. Now, some affected farming communities in the Bono area at Techiman, Kintampo, and Kranza, with the southern parts of the Volta region and the Greater Accra region also experiencing the same ordeal. And the question is, aren't we at the point yet where we should move away from waiting on rains before we can farm? Food shortage is looming. Anyway, let me do 2 more stories before I come to you, Doc. There's a story I saw. Right, let me start from here. It is an election year after all. Ashanti Region NPP commences 2024 election campaign, inaugurates campaign working team. The Ashanti Regional New Patriotic Party has commenced a 2024 electioneering campaign with the inauguration of its regional campaign working team. And yesterday I listened to Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, and just something caught my attention. He was going on about how Ghana has been resilient in terms of economic woes, global economic woes, but seems the country is standing strong. And then he was listing past presidents and what they've done. And then he got to Atta Mills and said, Bakuno we are different thing. What is it with this man? And some of the things he's
I think we shouldn't even repeat. You know, there's this saying, and I'm sorry I have to
him, and this party is saying, defending this man, that he's not arrogant. And yet some of the things he says, when I hear it, I wonder.
How can you refer to a president who has passed on? I mean, what if someone were talking about former Vice President Aliu Mahama and referred to him as, though I don't even want to utter those words. But I guess in the end, it's up to him. It's his party's problem, and they will navigate that as far as the electorate is concerned ahead of election 2024.
Right.
You know, the sad part is some people will come and defend such things, but even in our cultural context, you don't refer to dead people in a certain way. Same way you don't point to your village with your left hand. But I guess I don't want to dwell on that.
It's the confidence. You know, when you listen to the NPP campaign, it's not that we're appealing to you to help us break the 8. It's not that we need you to help us do more. It's more of we are going to win. We are not the president himself said we are not handing over power to the NDC. We will use any means necessary. And it's not even scary anymore. Now it's just annoying because these are people who should know better, you know. Let me put a pin in that and do one more story.
Maybe that is where you should learn not to be provoked.
Well, it's gone past provocation.
The provocation should, I guess, be felt in election 2024.
Right.
That's where
there was an interesting story I was looking for about Ghana arm wrestling, the national team going to they're joining the global competition somewhere. Good, I found it. So the Golden Arms to participate in the 45th World Championship. I think that's interesting. And the Golden Arms is the national arm wrestling team for Ghana, and they will represent Ghana at the 2024 World Arm Wrestling Championship to be held in Chisinau, Moldova on August 15 to 25th. And Ghana's Golden Arms will be represented by double gold medalist and African champions Grace Minta of the Ghana Police Service, Edward Yamwa Asamoah of the Ghana Immigration Service, Blessing Abeka Nuno and Godwin Saki, both civilians with the Ghana Immigration Service. And the team would be led by the president and founder of the Ghana Arm Wrestling Federation, who is also the president for the Africa Arm Wrestling and vice president of the world body, Mr. Charles Osei Asibe, and they will leave Accra tomorrow. Congratulations for them, and I hope they make us proud. Doc, these few stories for your reflection.
Yes, I will start with the issue about Napo. I'm surprised that with all the wise counsel given to him, from the king, Asante Hene, and from well-meaning Ghanaians, these things continue to show in public. It means that he has to do self-introspection and then correct all these things. Because, look, you are dealing with a society where these things are not countenanced at all. And if they caution you and only come back to take the conversation to another level, then you create a problem for yourself and your party. It is important for him to reflect on all these things and manage his outbursts and his utterances. They are not good enough at all. Look at the statement he made, and it's unfortunate. It appears to me that it's becoming very incorrigible relative to this issue we are talking about. But that should not be what should define him as a politician. We should know him for the strength that he has, what he brings to board. But these things are negatives that will detract the attention of the public towards him. This is the time that he needs a lot of attention in a positive light. So things about negative, he should work against them. I think that a word to a wise is enough. Mm-hmm. I'll move on to look at food shortage that is looming. Yes, I'm not surprised that we are gradually getting there. I'm not a prophet of doom, but the way we are planning this country in terms of food policies, food programs, agriculture in general, if we don't take care, a time will come, our import bill in terms of food will go extremely high. The very little things that we do to support ourselves and only get the rest from the rest of the world, we have abandoned them. And now we are going into areas that do not support what we are doing. Now, go to the rural areas, you realize that appetite for agriculture, we are losing it gradually. We are losing it. And sometimes you look at it, you realize that it's nothing but policy failures and then, wrong policies. I will cite one example to buttress my point. Look at government putting in a lot of effort in the area of aquaculture. And now, you go to farmers and talk to them after they've done so much by, producing a lot of fish. They have nowhere to sell. I have taken the trouble to call the ministry to find out what is it that they are doing to arrest this problem, especially when government is giving people fingerlings, feed and the rest. The input are provided by government to some people. And now, here you are. When the thing gets ready, you are not there to buy. I mean, for me, it beats my imagination. Look at galamsey activities and its effect on agriculture. It's if you've been to cocoa growing areas, you realize that galamsey, where there are big rivers, where there are minerals, right, galamsey is taking away agricultural ventures, pushing farmers to the periphery and all that. We are heading for danger, and it is about time we stood firm, made sure that we had sound policies in place to deal with this problem head on. Because I always bow my head in shame when we go to Burkina Faso, a desert area, to buy tomatoes, to buy vegetables and all that. And here, God has blessed us with arable land. Ali Mazuri would turn in his grave that Africa is the richest and yet the poorest. Well, we are rich in all natural resources, in everything, and yet we are poor in this. What a paradox. I don't want my country to get on that line.
Well said, Doc. Benjamin.
Just some headlines I'll leave us with. The Ghanaian Publisher, and I'm not going to go over some of them, but Mahama cries over NPP vote against, says they barely made any inroads under Rawlings. I don't know whether he's also crying over the fact that his party has also incrementally got higher votes in the Ashanti region as populations have increased. Napo, optimistic NPP will secure 85% of Ashanti votes. Doc, later I'll come to you for your reflection on that. Minorities coup against Supreme Court nominees failed. That's how they captured yesterday's incident in Parliament. Then the Inquisitor newspaper, I'll just focus on this story. Bright Simmons writes, the strange case of Ghana first gold refinery and its broke investor. Pictured there, the Rosie Royals headquarters in Ahmedabad, and we know that is where that is. And the source there is from Google. I'm talking about the picture. But Bright Simmons, I've been reading his posts, and he suggests that this is another backdoor route bringing back the Ejapa deal. And that's the story captured there. Those for your reflection, if you may, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante.
Yes. I think I'll touch on the 80% of Ashanti region votes.
85%.
That Napo,
85%.
85% of Ashanti region votes that MPP want to clock. Yes, the intention is founded, but as I've already said, there are a lot of work that you need to do, especially when you look at factors that influence voter choices. I've said and I will repeat, there are a lot of them that are not going well for this government. So if really they want to up their game, then they need to fix the economy and make sure that it is not on paper, but it reflects in the pockets and in the daily lives of people. The issue of nuisance taxes continue to be nuisance to society, and government has failed to do more in that area. You talk about business people, they complain about taxes, and what is government doing about that? The issue of a healthy economy that rubs off with everybody should be their topmost priority if they really want to annex these seats and then make it their own. Then they need to fix the economy, so to speak. Because once the economy is fixed, any other sector will have its fair share. So areas such as infrastructure improvement, which voters always consider when they are voting, will be a thing of the past. Issue of employment, which has become a problem for the teeming youth, will also be addressed, and the rest of them. In addition to specific constituency-specific issues, all right? Each constituency have their own specific issues that confront them. Are they ready to address them? So it's not that simple that you will annex. We had this statement from, Woon to me, the last election and all that, and all of us are alive to what really came out finally. So we are saying that it's easier to pronounce some of these things, but how to execute is a problem. So they need to work the mathematics if they really want to up their game.
Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us this morning, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, and we wish you the very best of the day. He's a political scientist. He's also head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Before we go, today happens to be the birthday of a very special man who gave us a very special gift. And he's in the person of Alex Owusu-Japong. He is 90 years old today. When I combine my age to Sweetie's, we'll still get nowhere near his age. I think it's fitting to say, Grandpa Alex Owusu-Japong, happy, happy, happy birthday to you. And may God crown you with much more life. I'm sure he could hit the centenary, could hit a 100, God willing. Anyway, that's it for the news review. Sweetie Abochi.
Yes, but before we go, a gentle reminder that this segment is always brought to you by Endpoints Homeopathic Clinic. Again, they're offering free screening, prostate screening and fertility screening for men and women at their various locations in Accra, on the Springtex Road opposite the Shell signboard. They're there in Kumasi, they are at Konumabuenya behind the Angel Educational Complex. In Takrady, you can find them in Anaji Estate. In Tema, right there in Community 22. In Techiman, Hansua, in Esiama, in Zima. You can also call them on 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoints Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Sports is up next. Don't go away.